Oh, wow, look at my hair. It is so funny looking. So, good morning, everybody. Um, yeah, it's a good morning. It is Wednesday. Happy middle of the week. These days go by so quick. Doing a Facebook Live video today because, oh gosh, it was active in the weekend. Of course, we know in the last couple of days it was like really active. You saw how the frequency shifted from being really cold to now warming up, and then people did feel the frequency shift. They felt whatever symptoms, whatever energy, damaged energy, negative energy, PTSD that was trapped in their body somewhere, then was able to be sort of chiseled out by the frequencies and come to surface, and people were feeling it. They're feeling the energy in their heart. They're feeling stuff, the hunger, whatever types of energy that the medical and the holistic system puts a name to and calls it a diagnosis if it is extreme energy, and then they have a medication attached to it. Okay? And so what we've learned in the J world, excuse me, what we've learned in the J world is that we don't recommend J juice as a cure. We don't offer J juice as a cure because you could have been doing so much J juice. You could have gone through some pretty intense frequencies prior to you feeling cured, feeling electron for electron, which is basically equilibrium. Okay? You could have been doing so much J juice and then felt the stuff and then got to that point of electron versus electron for electron and got that freezing of assets, that equilibrium, and then you pushed the demon back in the body again because let's say it's something topical that you use with the J juice. And so someone else who isn't prepared for that kind of energy, assuming that they're going to get the same outcome and at the same rate, okay, then they feel stuff, they're not prepared for it, and they get scared and they go to the hospital and they're like, oh my God. And so that's why you don't recommend J juice as a cure. You have to be able to talk about the J world in an articulate way to understand what pain is, what energy is, what symptoms are. They're nothing to be afraid of. Symptoms for people who are at such a deficit, yes, can be highly ionic, highly energetic. They don't have enough energy in their body or enough substance to be able to convert that energy and withstand that energy, so they have to be asymptomatic. They have to be under a drug to stop the energy, of which we know that is a predictable outcome. Okay? But the whole J world is about understanding the symptoms, and they are telling you that it's the body pushing stuff out, of which then you have to replace that energy with new energy that is not traumatized or damaged, and replace that. Just like when you go to work and they have a specific amount of people, like 50 people, and one person falls out and they were integral to the operation, you have to go and find a replacement for that person. And that's exactly what happens when your body is going through a symptom, of which the medical system, again, has then named that energy, diagnosed that energy if it's in combination with other energies in the body. And then that's what people get on medication after medication after medication after medication. And so then what I do here with the J world is I normalize feeling the frequencies. We are normalizing fluctuating with the environment. And you're like, well, why is it you are normalizing an uncured state when it has been normalized to be cured? Well, see here, we're in a high frequency environment. If you can't handle normalize fluctuating with these frequencies in a high frequency environment, we're in a climate change, type of global warming, pandemic. COVID isn't really over. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Then imagine when the population does scale down, assuming that that's something that you're even willing to consider, that that's the intention. Okay, if you can't handle the fluctuations now, then you won't be able to handle, even when the environment does calm down. Which, if you can't handle the fluctuations now, you won't survive a calmer environment. That's really what it comes down to. It's not even if you can't, I mean, if you don't survive this, it's not going to matter. The environment will calm down in the future. It will. And those that are left standing, those that are left not, in such shambles from the frequencies, they have it fucking made. That's the thing. Right now, we're in a test to see, we're in a conditioning process. We're in such a conditioning process. Even me feeling my heartbeat yesterday, it was as if I was actually running around the block. And my heart was beating yesterday or the day before. It was as if I was sitting here on the couch, but I was actually running. It was like me sitting on the couch and then me running also. If you were to put me in like a film and wanted to show the artistic way of what's going on, it's like two Jillians. One's running around and one's just sitting around, watching Netflix and doing whatever. Okay? And so we're in a conditioning. This is all conditioning. When you're feeling your heartbeat, it's conditioning. When you're feeling stuff and you're trying to find a way to calm the energy down with food, that's a conditioning to understand what food is used for. Food is used for sustenance, for energy. Food is used for insulation. Food is not something you throw at somebody. Food is not something that you play with when you think about it. Food is actually something that you eat. Food can be used for celebrations. That's great because people have to eat, and eating is good, but we don't want to mischaracterize food. Food is so necessary. Food is not something you be politicized against. Now, of course, where we get our food is politicized, but when you think about where the food comes from, you break it all down, it's still fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. So wherever food comes from, it doesn't even matter at this point. Now you have to understand how to adapt to the food supply, the food source. And if you already have deficiencies, it's not going to matter if it's lab created or if it's in nature, hanging around, organic or roaming free. If you have deficiencies, it's not going to matter anyways. Okay? And so now we are in a conditioning process. Now when you are feeling, let's say, sleeplessness, you eat food. I remember when I was feeling whatever I was feeling when I had the PMDD, and I was so hungry, and so I would eat like a pound of pasta, and then I would go to sleep. That was the only way I could get through the PMDD, which is basically like a COVID. Because again, all symptoms are basically the same. They come out in different ways, but the reason what makes them different is the algorithms and the frequencies, and then the named diagnosable conditions. And even then, doctors misdiagnose people, so don't think that they know everything, okay? And so whenever I felt the same way when I had PMDD every freaking month that I do whenever I feel the frequencies, and I fluctuate with them. And so today, I slept really good last night. My husband, I just talked to him. He slept really good last night, like really good, okay? I mean, that's that's not a coincidence. Now, you see me occasionally up and down, if you look at my news feeds, notice I will listen to a video about finances and whatever else that's interesting to me at the time when I'm trying to go back to sleep, when I wake up and go pee or something. But I go back to sleep and I have, really quick, and I remember my dreams too. I had a dream the other day that I'm not going to say what it is because it's really negative about somebody else potentially passing away. And dude, oh my God, you don't put that out there in the world. But maybe even when you get, when you get to a point where when you've released all your demons and all that stuff, and now you're just fluctuating with the environment, you might be getting premonitions of stuff that, and some people do right now have premonitions about stuff in the future. Just because of what they've seen, and they know that's an indicator. What you see now today could be accelerated and even more so down the road. And sometimes it actually is as bad as what you dream about in some other place. Maybe not for you, but maybe that's what's in our future. Okay, so everything that we see in today, it's all a reality, and then what you see in your dreams, it's a reality. What you see on TV, it's a reality on some level. Everything is in plain sight. It's just that we've been so compartmentalized, and then we have taken away indicators to let us know when danger's coming. We've taken away indicators to prepare us for what's to come. And so now with the J world, now you are so online, it's unreal. Not because you're doing J juice. Again, you don't want to cure yourself. You don't want to have electron for electron. The reason why the J juice was a catalyst, because people were sodium deficient. They already had a certain amount of milligrams recommended to you, and that was universal. And we had people who were like, 180 pounds and 100 pounds, and they're recommending you to something milligrams of 2,000 or 200 milligrams of sodium per day. And then people were already on low sodium diets because they had issues, right? And so they were blaming the salt and saying salt's horrible and you don't want to feel stuff. So they lowered the salt, they lowered the sugar, they lowered your gluten, they took away the fats. Now you're only eating like lettuce and celery. And so when you're bringing in something ionic, electricity, electrolytes, it's going to bring then that extra electron. It's going to cause the chemical reaction. Your body's going to actually go online and trigger the immunity. And your body's going to try to push out the damage that you've kept inside for so many fucking years. And so that's why people felt stuff. But then when they're taking so much, again, electron for electron. Okay, when you have electron for electron and you have everything all equal, then it's called freezing the assets. So let's use financial terms, freezing assets. So when you're using so much J juice on topically, because you have eczema and psoriasis, and you're trying to get relief, which I understand you balance out how much you can take. If you have such bad eczema and psoriasis, you do what you have to do to get some relief so you're not tortured to death. But over time, you're supposed to let that stuff come out. You're not supposed to stop it and freeze it and then push it back in the body for it to mutate and turn into something else, because that's what happens. When you're taking cures either topically or taking cures and things that are antibiotic, which then you'll develop an offspring. Because you take an antibiotic and a probiotic, which is you, the offspring is then a mutation of those two worlds, and then now you have a new entity in the body that's going to metastasize and turn into another fucking demon that's going to torture you, and the body's going to try to push that out or push out any damage or push out any old world, because that's a new world, and then you're not going to let it. And so now you have so many generations of life in your body in conflict, like having, again, the boomers, the Gen Xers, the Zennials, the Generation Z, the Generation A, Generation Y, Generation Silent Generation, the Great Generation, and they're all in conflict with each other trying to be king of the mountain. And that's where you get all these crazy diseases, all these co-infections, because people have so many generations of life in their body. And the strongest one, whatever it is, wants to push out the weaker ones, and then you're fighting that. And so then you have a war inside, and then people are tortured, and then shit happens, things happen. Okay? And so we are in a major conditioning, and you can't be cured, but you have to figure out what you can handle. And again, it's a process that happens over time, especially if you have so much of the conflicting energy in the body. You have to intermittently let it go, let it be free, feel the pain, and let it, and then if it's too much, then you do what you have to do, whatever it is. I don't care if it's J juice or something your doctor gave you or whatever holistic professional gave you, but the intention is to wean yourself off of the medical and the holistic system and even the J juice. Okay? And so with the thing with the J juice, again, what gave me the clarity and what gave me the revelations and the fluctuations, even prior to climate change, prior to the pandemic, was the fact that I used J juice intermittently in a slower environment. But J juice is ionic, it's highly energetic, but you're getting now the frequencies in the environment. You're getting frequency upon frequency, and so you don't really need to turn to J juice. Now you have to feel the symptoms that are already in your body. I don't care if you blame it on somebody else who was VED. I don't care if you blame it on GMO. I don't care if you blame it on the skies, the chemtrails, the vinyl chloride from the train derailments, or from the pollution in your environment. Whatever is coming up for you, whatever is coming out, whatever is screaming, whatever it is, I don't care if it's just PTSD from past trauma, you have to let it express. You can't stop it. That's why we are in the situation that we're in, is we've stopped the damage and the trauma from coming out of our body. And what does that damage and trauma look like? How does it manifest? It's a diagnosable condition, or it's something that somebody wants to remedy themselves from, for whatever. Okay? So when you're smoking pot, when you're taking lotions that are medicated, when you're doing steroid creams, when you're doing the surgeries, when you're doing all the things in the holistic world, topical or internal, and or the allopathic world, you are trapping the beast within. You are trapping the beast within. So you don't recommend jade juice to people as a cure, because I'll tell you, it may not be a cure for them. And if it is, that's not what you're trying to do. You're not trying to trap the demons within that person's body. You really want to advocate releasing the demons in a safe manner that you can handle, and you can't assume that the other person over there can handle the energy release. Because they may have a lot more predisposed issues. They may have a lot more demons within their body that they do the jade juice, it's going to release, and they're going to have events like you saw Dr. Phil. Not saying that we knew that was going to happen, and not saying that it was dangerous, because she obviously survived the event. The lady that was like, oh, I had a stroke or I had a heart attack. But it was already predisposed, and we told everybody in the files, we said it in the book, in the files, you may experience a heart attack, a stroke, or, that probably was in there, skin conditions, all the diagnosable conditions, because those are all the energy. That's all the trauma, that's all the energy that was trapped inside, that was woken up by the energy of the jade juice. Now people are waking up the demons with the ionosphere being heated up by HAARP and CERN and Wi-Fi. And we're in a highly volatile environment because we're in climate change, global warming. You're going to feel a lot more stuff. And the more you try to push it and cure it and push it back in the body, the more it's going to metastasize. And if you don't feel anything, but then your face is changing, your body's changing, you're aging, or you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, then that's the energy that's trapped inside that is cannibalizing you and mutating things inside because you refuse to release it. And so, I just say this, that we're in a major conditioning, and some people are too far gone. They can't do it. They have to be under the influence, extremely medicated. And so that's the challenge of the J world is to ignore those that know they can't do it, and they're all screaming at you saying you're stupid, you're this, or keep recommending cures to all their friends and family. But there is a segment of the population that potentially could take this on, could potentially intermittently release the demons without torturing themselves, without totally having to get in the way of their life, because you still have to make money. You still have to take care of your kids, your husband, your wife, whatever it is that you're responsible for. And so you have to be responsible for how you release those demons, how often, but that's what's necessary. You cannot be cured. You can try to be cured, but then you'll end up aging excessively fast and also potentially burn out. And then there's the died suddenlies. Now we know how they've characterized and who they blame the died suddenlies on, but really when it comes down to it, when somebody does die suddenly from whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, it's the fact they were not conditioned for that energy conversion. And it could be a V, it could be a frequency, it could be going into a crowd of people, it could be a concert, it could be the fact that the seasons changing are like that, from really cold to then extremely warm, okay? And so there's so many factors out there that the system has given you to glom onto and blame, that you see then it's a Tower of Babel. You see one group is blaming the V's, another group is blaming more gallons on the chemtrails, another group is blaming the GMO, another group is blaming the meat, another group is blaming the milk, the cheese, the eggs, the fruits and vegetables, the water, you name it. There is something somebody can blame. The salt, the sugar, the processed sugar. Now I gotta eat organic sugar. You see what they have done. They have confused the shit out of you, and then they've commodified all the ways that your body tries to release and called it a diagnosable condition, of which then there's a remedy, a surgery, a tincture, an herb for it, and then you keep pushing the demon back in the bottle. You keep pushing the genie back in the bottle. Right now, the genie, you can't stuff the genie back in the bottle. Oh yeah, people are being released. Things are being released. Some people don't survive the release. And so that's why you have to understand food and rest and not getting so emotional. But again, you can't tell someone not to be emotional when they have so much trapped emotions inside, and we're in a frequency change. Emotions have to come out, and you see how it comes out. You see it on your Facebook. You see how emotions come out. And so I had to remind someone yesterday, do not recommend jade juice by saying it did something. It cured your eczema or psoriasis. Because no, it didn't cure it. Oh, okay. It put it under temporary suspension. You froze the assets. It's like freezing your bank account. You can't do any kind of energy conversion. You can't trade with it. You can't do anything. It's like being stuck in suspension. That's not what you want to tell people, that the jade juice freezes you in suspension. No, it doesn't. Okay? The jade juice is a catalyst. If you get to a point where it's a cure, you've gone too far and you've really missed the point. And so you want to have that energy conversion. You want to have that currency exchange. And you want to be the one to have enough resources to back up the currency exchange. You want to be the one that your dollar, your body can go further than somebody else's. I'm not saying you want to compete with somebody else, but you want to be the one to survive. If it's you and the other person is like, 100 pounds and you're in 180, but you're also proportional, you're going to outlast that person. Just like in these Outlast movies or reality shows. It's the ones that are bigger, that have been conditioned, that don't have major health issues, that intellectually they're strong, physically they're strong, and they can outlast that person in a wilderness, like the Alaskan wilderness. Okay? And so you don't want to be promoting asset freezing to people. That's a cure. Because again, when you focus on one mineral, one compound, it could be magnesium, it could be copper, it could be diatomaceous earth, it could be clay. You start promoting one or two elements and metals and proteins. Oh yeah, do all this really good fat. Only eat this avocado oil and that's it. Then you've lost sight of balance. You've lost sight that every mineral and every element, every protein has a purpose. It's in moderation, and you're supposed to feel the energy come out. But again, you have to determine how much energy you can handle releasing those demons. And it's not for you to say, for somebody else. And so that's why I've gotten so picky with how people characterize the J world. Now it's about characterizing your symptoms, characterizing how you react to them, and characterizing your process. But as soon as you look for a cure, look for a hero, look for a savior, look for a demon, look for a Satan, as soon as you start looking for all those key things that are in the politics, religion, and science world, you're done. You have lost sight of the picture. As soon as you demonize a person, place, or thing, as soon as you worship a person, place, or thing, it's done. That's how the politics, religion, and science world has figured out how to depopulate people, by giving them a demon to go and demonize, or Satan to go and satanize, and or give them a hero to worship. And once that happens, there's nothing I can say or do. I just have to step away. I don't want anybody worshiping me. You have every opportunity to have what I'm having. It just takes time. I came to this world, was from war. Starving, and was given up by a couple in New York that my parents took me on, two scientists that could handle this. And so they thought I was going to be autistic. I didn't speak until I was 15 months old and I wasn't speaking. My mom forced me to speak by saying you can't have anything to eat unless you actually can say. Because I kept pointing at what I wanted in the fridge. And so she says, no, you have to actually say something. And so that's how she forced me to speak. Okay, but I had so many health issues, behavior issues. I came to this world really deficient. But she protein loaded me, and then I was still starving. I was stealing food, in first grade. I was stealing food from people in the lunch, like in the cubbies where we had our lunches. I was starving. Even the food they were giving me, it wasn't enough. I needed so much more. Okay? But I wasn't heavily medicated through, they were giving me Benadryl and Triamidic, and I might have gotten some amoxicillin. But I was lucky I didn't have to wear braces. I didn't have any operations. I may have skinned my knee one time in first or second grade and had stitches. But as I got older, when I get sick, I would get sick really fast, and it would clear up really fast. My sister, she had issues. She had a high, overactive immune system. So when I got chickenpox, I had them all over. When she got chickenpox, it was like one chickenpox on her belly, and that was it. She had a really overactive immune system. But then that, what happens to an overactive immune system later on, you get those autoimmune disorders. Okay. And then in my adolescent and young adulthood, I was away from the house. I wasn't, under any medications. I was just going and experiencing the world when you think about it. And even in my young adulthood, in my 20s and 30s, I just dealt with the PMS. If I didn't even have the PMS until I think in 1999 is when it kicked up. So I was like, living off adrenaline in my 20s. And I would go and over here, go over there. I was traveling everywhere and seeing stuff, hanging out with my friends that were like 10 years older than me. And we'd go to travel the side of San Francisco and all of the peninsula and going up to Sausalito and going up to Highway 1 and Pacific. I mean, we did all of the whole Bay Area in my 20s. We traveled everywhere in the Bay Area in my 20s. And I was living in the East Bay, Walnut Creek, Lafayette area, Contra Costa County. And we'd always go to, Berkeley and Oakland and all of that. So, I mean, I had fun in my 20s. And then in my 30s, things started, the PMDD. And I did try to go to Kaiser one time, and then he tried to prescribe me Prozac for it. And I was like, nope, not going to do it. And so I stayed off the medication. I only had health insurance for about 6 months, paying $300 a month to figure out my PMDD with the Kaiser in San Francisco. And that wasn't going to work. There was no way. So I just suffered through it. And so that's why it was easier for me to suffer through dealing with my predisposed issues and whatever trauma, because I wasn't conditioned in my 30s and in my 20s to medicate myself. Yeah, there's recreational drugs, but everyone does that on some level. I didn't do a lot. I mean, I never done cocaine or anything, or meth. And so I may have tried, acid, I think once or twice in my teens, and then when I was in Hollywood, I think I did acid once. But that was it. It was just a little experience. It wasn't bad. And it was just, that was it. It was enough for me. And maybe I drank a lot of alcohol in my, but then I can't really handle alcohol. So I didn't do so much damage to myself. And then when I felt like things were coming up for me, I would go to a self-help course like Landmark Education, or I'd go to a therapist and pay like $50 a week, a sliding scale, for about, maybe about a month or so to get through whatever I needed to get through, whatever came up for me. Okay. And so I found ways to help myself without drugging myself out or using, illicit substances, or drown myself in alcohol to deal with stuff. No, when my boyfriend and I broke up in San Francisco, what did I do? I cried on the steps over there at the Flood building because him and I had to go talk to a social therapist, which was one of the people in the independent world, because social therapy and the independents that were prominent in San Francisco at the time was run by, social therapists and people who were trying to bring out a different political thought process. And yes, the independent movement was huge in SF. And so he broke up with me in a session, a social therapy session, in a controlled environment. And I was like, what? and so I just cried and then figured out how to figure out, whatever I was doing. That was after I came back from China. And then after that, I went to Hawaii and just did whatever. And so I just, what did I do with all the trauma that I had to deal with, the changes? I went and traveled. I did stupid shit. Yeah. But luckily nothing, put me in the hospital or die from. But it's just dealing with the stuff and dealing with it as it comes, and crying and just going into another career field, or, go do a sabbatical and then come back, fresh and all that. But nowadays, the drugs and the alcohol and all these things and all the medicines and the hospitals and the holistic people and all the yoga shit and all these different meditation stuff, they are like all over Facebook. So if you're feeling bad, somebody has a yoga meditation for you. They have a pill for you. They have a remedy for you. They have a tincture for you. They have, let me listen to you and I'll offer you. I mean, people can't even seem to just face their own fears because they go on Facebook and say, I'm feeling bad. And they have somebody go, here, I'll give you something for it. Here, I'll sell you something. Here, private message me. I'll have something for you. Or I'll connect you to this massage therapist or this doctor or this, remedy. And so, and that's our world now. Now people can't even face their fucking pain because they're not willing to. They have somebody in their freaking Facebook that will take it away. Take it away. Well, no, I didn't have that in my 20s and 30s. When I got onto Facebook, it was like 2009, 2008, 2009 in my old account. That's still up, so you guys can see my old account. And I was in the insurance world at the time, but I was, that was when I was going like, okay, California is going to suck the life out of me trying to keep up with the Joneses. That's when I was looking for a situation out of that. And I did. I figured out and I started a whole new life. I said, you know what? You can only hit your head against the wall a few times, so many times before you start saying, okay, it's time to do something different. It's time to go back to square one. And so, yeah, I moved my way over here. So that's what I'm saying. We're in a conditioning process. And the only way that you're going to be able to actually deal with this new world is you stop using your friends and your family and all the people that are giving you your remedies and tinctures. Stop using them as a medicine, as a therapy. Start facing your own bullshit. You don't need to be promoting even the J juice as a cure. Just talk about your fucking difficulties. As soon as you turn to, again, a savior, a demon, or any kind of thing, you're done. You're done. As soon as you recommend a therapist or this or that to somebody else when you have actually no business determining what, that they should be even getting that, then you're done. You're part of all of that where you're trying to save someone from the pain. I'll tell you, people are far gone, are really far gone. And if you want to accelerate their death process, then you save them from everything. If you want to accelerate the death process, you go recommend that herbal tincture. You go recommend that magnesium, that copper. Because you see what happens when you focus on only just one or two elements. You see what happens when people are on drugs 24/7 all the time. They are deteriorating, and they're deteriorating very fast in this environment. So you want to save somebody? You don't save them. You eat food. You talk about your situation. You eat food. I'm not saying you have to go and pull out your shit and talk about that. You'll do that on your own if you want, if you understand that. That's in the book, and no one has to talk about that. But you talk about that you're eating food. But if people don't know that that's the key thing, pulling your crap out, that's how the New World Order has got us. Because how many people are going to talk about pulling their shit out? Except for me. And I get the flack for it, which is fine. I can handle it. But that was the thing. That was the key thing that has gotten me over so many different roadblocks the last 7 years. Because when I was when I was dragging my whole body up and down the stairs when my dog was here and I was sick, I was so sick, and it was June, July, and I felt that mycoplasma. I felt like a long COVID patient where I could barely move, I could barely get up, I could barely even eat, I could barely do anything. But I knew that the only last thing that saved my ass to help me get through this was pulling out that poop. Because it wanted to stay in there and wanted to take over. It was basically what was taking over everything. That's why they have fecal transplants. And so I forced myself in that shower and I pulled it out and I would go and eat. And the next day do the same thing. And that was how I saved myself from having a long-term diagnosable condition. But are people going to say this on Facebook? No, because they have so many people in their world that are like, ew, icky, icky. And that's how the New World Order, they've already shamed people about that. You already see it on my Amazon reviews, how they've shamed people in even looking at their sphincter. That's the jail that you've been put under. So you're not going to be able to save anyone else. So you got to save yourself. And then when you stop promoting magnesium and copper and another freaking cure, you not only have you saved somebody else from having to go down that road and deal with that, but then you've allowed your body to you finally realize that you can't rely on the magnesium and the copper and the vitamin D and the pills and the powder supplements and detoxes and everything under the sun and the holistic allopathic. Then take yourself out of the war, and then now you have to deal with the frequencies and you have to survive them. And then, then your family, you could, hold a family meeting and say what you're doing if they can even listen to that. Whatever you do with your family, as long as it's legal, it's not like illegal and you're not violating anyone else, you're just talking about what you're doing. Then they know really how you're able to get through, that you're not using any kind of, even the J juice to get by, that you figured out a way. Because you understand that you have to understand both openings. We have the system closing up both sides of your alimentary canal. Your ass is so tight that you can't even really shit the way you're supposed to. And then people have stopped the mucus from gathering and releasing because they're taking the pineapple juice to stop the coughing. They're taking cough suppressants. They're taking mucus suppressants. They're taking things to dry up the mucus. They're taking, anything to stop the body from releasing. And so that's why the Theraflus and the NyQuils, those stop the body from producing mucus. And then the anti-diarrheals and all that stuff are stopping the body from releasing the diarrhea that you need to release. And then they don't teach you that you need electrolytes. Go make yourself a salty cabbage chicken soup. And then you drink some probiotic, yogurt or milk. So you have the necessary life that is blooming. And then, you will be mucusy, so you have a carrier force to carry out the demons. The people are demonizing milk. That milk is life. Meat is life. You convert that energy, it turns into lengthening your telomeres. Okay? But there's a reason why there's all these campaigns against milk, against meat, against cheese, against fruits, against vegetables, against this, against that. Because that is the depopulation agenda. The holistic world is the depopulation agenda. The allopathic world is the depopulation agenda. Your inability to deal with the body releasing is the depopulation agenda. The fact that you have 50 million people on your Facebook that will give you a remedy, a surgery, a therapist, a doctor, a massage, a chakra thing is the depopulation agenda. When I only have 1,000 people on my Facebook, maybe less than that, I have 800. I got away from my 5,000 people because there's so many people in there that are recommending herbs and extracts and magnesium and copper and all this stuff. But I've chosen to take on certain people on my Facebook. And if they're recommending all these different supplements, then I just stop following them because I don't need to be triggered. I like them for who they are. I can still hang out with them. But I don't have that shit bombarding my news feed every single day, just triggering the hell out of me. Because I'm like, oh my God. This person is recommending this. Holy shit. How long have they been in the J world? And I was doing that all over the place. So that's why I could go and take my phone number and attach it to my old account and have the 5,000 followers. 5,000 followers. But that's not really my point. I could care less. There's nothing I could do to change people. All I can do is represent myself and then lessen the triggers in my environment. That's it. And so then I represent myself. And I try not to demonize anyone specific. But I have to give you guys both sides without dehumanizing anyone. But showing you and reminding you that's your world that you live in. When you have, again, 3,000 people who are in the medical holistic system, okay, in the energy healing world, and they're recommending you something, it's so easy not to face your demons. Because you have something right there. I'm telling you, the New World Order is giving you everything you could possibly want. They're giving you all this free energy in the environment. They're giving you people that will take away your pain just like that. They're giving you boyfriends and girlfriends so you can go in and get off and release all your particles of you, so you basically are depleted and your life is sucked out of you. They're giving you everything. See, be careful what you wish for. You will get it. You will get it because it's right there for the taking. All you gotta do is get on your Facebook and go message someone. Hey, I want this, and they'll sell you whatever. Everything's for sale on Facebook, on eBay, Amazon. So much that people don't like it because there's even people for sale, but then that's something controversial, and that's illegal. But that's legal, but illegal, because it's in the dark web. Okay, so I'm just saying now you're getting everything you possibly want. We are in the world where you're what is it, Midas? You're getting all the gold. And people are going to destroy themselves with how much access to pain-free and gold and silver and money. And I say, oh my God, that's the depopulation agenda. Good luck, everybody. Bye.